Hello? Can anybody hear me? Can anybody see me? I can't see me. So people, if you're out there and you can see me, please let me know because I'm getting one of those strange black screens again. How strange. Every once in a while this happens. But if you are out there, please let me know if you can see me. And in the meantime, you know what? I might go ahead with the mini introduction just in case. Hey, Simone! So glad you're there. You can see me? You can hear me? Everything's okay? Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, so this is just a case of me not being able to see myself. You know what? Maybe that's not such a bad thing. So, folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Hello, Nicole. It's so good to have you here. I'm here for another Wednesday afternoon live stream. Pop-up art studio or virtual art hive, however you like to look at it. I'm here and I'm excited to make art with you today. It's been a busy morning, so I'm going to use this time to take care of myself. Thank you so much. It's so good to know that everything is coming across well. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, self-care I think is at the top of my priority list today. I don't know about you, but I think it's been one of those weeks, one of those months. I'm not even sure. You know what? There's so much to talk about. So before I go ahead with that, let me just welcome folks who may be new to the live stream today. If you're watching or listening and this is your first time joining us, welcome. This is a virtual Art Hive live stream from the Living Room Community Art Studio. It's just an hour and a half where we hang out. I make art. You can make art along with me if you like. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You can do whatever you'd like to do. And hello, Wendy. And along the way, I'm going to be chatting with folks in the community. Sometimes folks who are chatting in the live stream, the comment section. So if you'd like to join in the conversation, just say hi. You can say anything you like in that chat and you know, that's how we communicate in one of these live stream situations. If you'd prefer to just sit back, observe, listen to it, almost like it's some strange podcast, that's okay too. Do what you need to do today to take care of yourself, to, you know, draw whatever inspiration you need to from this creative experience we're sharing together and creating together. Because you know what? It's not just about me, it's about you too. And this only happens if folks are out there. And I know folks are. Even on days where it's quiet in the chat, I imagine everyone out there. Because you may not be watching while it's live. If you are watching once it's archived, thank you so much. You are welcome to our pop-up art studio as well, and you're just as much a part of the community as everyone else who might be able to watch it live. So thank you for being here. What else do I need to say, folks? Oh, hello. Am I on this window now? Hey, there's my face. Oh, all the fun, all the live stream fun that can happen. Usually I start the live stream on my face, so you're just getting that a little bit late today. But that is entirely an example of kind of where I'm at today. Things that feel a little bit up in the air. Things feel a little bit stormy, but in not a bad way. And almost a transformation kind of way. Let me know how you're doing out there, and let me know if and what is going on in your life right now. What are you working on? What projects are you excited to be creating? What kind of projects are you imagining and envisioning for yourselves? We have a long weekend coming up here in Canada, and long weekends in the summertime are precious for folks, no matter what kind of year we're in. So as we head into that, I just want to thank everyone for being with us all this time. I want to encourage everyone and invite everyone to take care of yourselves and perhaps give yourself some time to rest and relax this weekend if you're able to. I will be doing that myself. So just a bit of housekeeping on top of the initial housekeeping. This will be the last day of Living Room programming for today until next week. So we will be back next Tuesday, but we are taking a little bit of a mini break to step back, make some space in our head, and yeah, do some planning perhaps. But if, you know what, if at all possible, maybe not. Maybe I just want to have free time to do whatever I want or need to do, just like I hope you guys are going to do. And so Nicole, updating us on what Nicole's working on today. Nicole is coloring in one of the Living Room coloring books. That is fantastic. And Nicole, did you know, well, I think folks might know, but if you're not familiar, one of our community artists, Margaret Franklin, does these fantastic hand embroidered quilts, hand sewn, hand embroidered. They're extraordinarily detailed and fabulous. And Margaret has been taking every single page from both of our coloring books and making them into embroidered panels on this quilt that she has been making. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I think she might have posted in the community section on our Facebook page, but you can also visit her Facebook page. I think it's the new Margaret Franklin Creations, just to get a sense of the wonderful work that she does. And of course, Margaret is one of those folks who would have probably been in the studio every single day we were open when we had that physical space. So, you know what? I'm thinking about people that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm wishing everyone well. Interesting. And Simone, update on what Simone's working on. And I've been taking peeks of about what you've been doing too on your Instagram. Simone saying, Mary, I am absolutely obsessed with making ocean-inspired resin dishes right now. I use old oyster shells and old beach shells. I am, you are a Cancer, and it just feels so right. That water, that flow, that crustacean-y kind of feel to it, of course. I love them. I've been keeping an eye on what you've been doing, and they look beautiful and precious and vibrant and just the kind of thing you want to hold and feel with your own hands, something so tactile. I love the resin work that you're doing, and who knows, maybe there'll be an opportunity for us to get some of our hands on those pieces. Just a little shout out to any artists making things that they might be open to selling. And Courtney, hello Courtney, how are you doing today? And Simone says, Today Simone is painting some mini stingrays, making them into manta rays to add to more resin dish pieces. Fantastic. And Kathleen Hiscock says, that sounds beautiful. Hello, Kathleen. It's so good to see you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ah, yes. So we've got some obvious summer vibes in the air, I think. There's that feeling of wanting to be maybe by the water, maybe by the ocean. I'm a big water person myself. Not so much going in the water, but I like being able to look out at it. So maybe this weekend I'll get away to the lakefront for a little bit and just have a breath and look out at our beautiful waterfront. If you don't have a waterfront, I don't know, maybe there's something else that brings you that kind of joy, that kind of pleasure, looking out at a horizon line. And Vanna's saying, hello, hi, Vanna, how you doing? And Vanna, I think it might be your birthday today, so happy birthday to you. And Courtney's doing okay. And Kathleen's, happy to see you too. That's great. Wendy is working on a felted doll. Oh, Wendy, you know I want to see pictures of this too. So exciting to see you working with needle felting. Again, I dabble here and there. I like the texture of it. I love that feeling, the stabby feeling, but you feel that creative energy going into something in a way that's very different than any other kind of expressive modality I've tried so far. There's something so satisfying about that, giving shape to something in that way. Oh, yes, please share pictures if you can. And Kathleen is saying, I'm on the Kingston waterfront or Eaterfront. Could be a typo, but you might have an Eaterfront at the waterfront. That's not impossible. But saying it's so hot down on the waterfront, and yep, it's hot here too. It is very, very humid, very sticky. Went from raining in the morning here in Oshawa to this almost kind of tropical humidity in the afternoon. I love being outside, but I spent all outside most of the morning, so I'm glad to be inside now, actually, connecting with you folks here. It's cooling off just a little bit. And folks, wishing Vanna happy birthday. Thank you, community. You're awesome. And interesting, Nicole saying, just in response to what I was sharing about Margaret's work, new Margaret Franklin Creations. That's so cool. I was never very good at quilting, Nicole says, but I've done some, and I can't believe how involved it is. You are right. It is something that I think, we see it every day in many cultures around the world, many communities around the world. It is a lifetime of practice devoted to crafting these beautiful, beautiful, exquisite things. And there is something different. I mean, no shade being thrown at, machine sewn things, but a hand-sewn quilt. There is so much that goes into that. The skill of the handwork, the designs, the color selections, the creation and the shaping and cutting of the fabrics. But at the end of the day, there's also an incredible amount of patience there too, dealing with these folds of fabric that, it's an extraordinary process. And if I could, I would love to have Margaret on for a live stream. You know what, maybe we'll do a Facebook one if she's up to it. But we'll see. There's so many people I still want to talk to. And Nicole giving us an update about what day it is. So folks, it is today. Today is Social Media Day. So happy Social Media Day, everyone. And I laugh because it's something, speaking for myself, I have such a love-hate relationship with social media. And yet it is a medium that allows me to connect with you and stay in connection with folks. And during this last year and a half, maybe almost 2 years, it's been a real beautiful thing, really beautiful thing. As much as sometimes I feel weighed down by the expectations that sometimes sneak in, the performative expectations. But when I'm with you here, I don't necessarily feel that. So this is a nice safe space for me on social media, so I will celebrate that today. Thanks for the heads up, Nicole. And Kathleen definitely confirming waterfront. Oh, Kingston's waterfront must be beautiful. I haven't been to Kingston in so long, and I'm looking forward to taking a little road trip out there once we can again. And who knows, it might be sooner than we think. But I would love a big hello, a big hugs to everyone out in Kingston. And I think you have a fabulous art hive out there too. And Kathleen, you might be involved in that. So my heart and my love, sending it out to our Kingston art hives as well. And Nicole, just about quilting again, finding measuring and cutting procedure amazing. And that's right. Again, fitting those pieces together in just a way. I'm, as you can imagine, a very impatient sewer. I'm just generally a fairly impatient art maker of all kinds. I stumble into things and I get into the flow, and then I can immerse myself and everything else goes away. But initially, I think I'm a bit of a sloppy quilt maker, a sloppy sewer. I like, let's get it done. Let's get it out there. I want to see the thing. I like that. Yeah, you can imagine that, I'm sure. It's not too difficult. And Kathleen is saying, Kathleen's saying, I'm not involved with the Kingston Art Hive. I didn't know it existed. I'll have to reach out to them. Oh my goodness, yes. Let's see. Now, I don't know if I have any students on the line. We are welcoming 2 new students to placement on the Living Room. They're 2 fabulous students from Ontario Tech U. And hello, a huge shout out to our friends at that university. We have some real champions there who always hook us up with awesome students, as do the other colleges and universities. But during this very difficult time for students everywhere, it's been more difficult than ever to connect and build relationships and have those really special placement opportunities. So, as on behalf of the Living Room, I'm honored to be able to do it in small ways. But if you're out there, students, I'm not going to reveal you just yet, but if you are watching and listening, feel free to join the chat and say hello. And I might call out to you to do some research. So, first challenge to any students that might be out there listening. If you can do a little research, find that Kingston Art Hive for me. You can put it in the link in the description for folks so they can visit it. And you know what? I will find out for you. Some art hives are open to everyone in the community, like ours is. Some are maybe more population specific. Some, it depends what their resources are, what their funding is, and things like that, as you can imagine. But if we don't post it now, Kathleen, you know what I'll do? I will look it up and I will post it in the show and tell post we do after the live stream. And that way you can reach out and connect and say hello and learn how they can be of service and support to you and vice versa. Because, every community, if we had a magic wand, every neighborhood would have its own art hive. Every block would have its own art hive, right? Oh, one day in my magic art head world. So, yeah, what can we do? What can we do now? I'm so happy and excited to see what people are working on today. I'm just going to dive in. So if you were here at the top, you saw some of what I was working on. Let me just do a little switcheroo here. There we go. Now, my morning was so busy, full disclosure. Usually I have time to prepare and think about, okay, what am I going to do? What do I want to work on with folks? And today I had none of that. Today we had a really, really cool visit from the community, from Andrea Howarth and Jennifer French. So, of course, some NDP representation there, but we received this call out of the blue saying that Andrea wanted to visit and connect and learn more about what we were doing. And Jennifer French, who is our local MPP here in Oshawa, has always been a champion of the Living Room, always a supporter. And not only a supporter, but someone who comes and uses the studio themselves. And that's something really special. For me, when you have people who are of service to the community like that in politics, I mean, opinions are my own here, but that speaks volumes. People who not only talk about things, but actually do things, consider themselves to be a part of the community. And today, that was just another demonstration for me about who they are and how they walk through the world. That being said, you might have other views and opinions, and that's okay too. I hope whoever you're working with in your community is as engaged and involved as we're lucky here to have with Jennifer French. On that note, they were coming and I thought, what could I do with them? What could I do? What kind of art activity? They wanted to learn about the mobile art studio project. They wanted to learn how, we're recovering and surviving and thriving through the pandemic, what our needs are, what our dreams are, how we're doing. And of course, I wanted to know the same about them. So I asked them to make some wish flags. So we have some beautiful, beautiful wish flags that they created. And lovely messages that I think are very important, no matter who you are. And it was just such a lovely gesture to have them contribute to this project that we have going on. Now, some folks out there may not realize, if maybe you're not familiar with our wish flag project, how many people, if you're in the chat, how many people have created wish flags for us? I think there's quite a few of you here. But let's see. And I just want to dab into the chat again. Nicole saying, interesting. And this is what I love about our creative community, how resourceful we are. Nicole saying, recently I was working on something and needed curly hair. I decided to recycle a half-finished piece, unraveled it, and got wonderful curly hair out of it. And yeah, that's a part of that process of repurposing, recycling, reusing, upcycling. And Nicole, I know for anyone out there who creates art dolls, who crochets dolls like Nicole does, it's one way of maintaining and keeping what we do sustainable, but also keeping it engaged on another level, always thinking a few steps ahead. And I feel like it makes what we do better. I don't know about you, but I like when we have to repurpose and reuse and revisit old ways of doing things. Sometimes having a little bit of restriction in, helps us think outside the box, helps us be a little more creative. And Nicole, I think you are one of the most creative people I know when it comes to that kind of thing. There's so many amazing things you've done over the years, and that's just one of them. Your doll making is just one of them. But yes, so for folks who are interested, I'm gonna go down a little bit of a rabbit hole with the Living Room project, and then I'm gonna come back to these wish flags here, because it's something that was a really special project for us. And I might save it to the end. Yeah, so I'm going to put these aside and I'm going to work on a little watercolor piece just to help ground myself, because I was out there with them for the visit and just having these fantastic conversations, sharing with them about the community, what we've, what so many of us have been going through and experiencing, how we've been staying connected. Nicole saying, thank you, Mary. I've never heard of the Wish Flag project before and it sounds interesting. Perfect. So the Wish Flag project. So folks who visited the studio, you might remember if you looked up in the rafters of our space, you could see all these tiny flags just strung up side by side. Yeah? That was our Wish Flag project, part of our Wish Flag project. But when we started the Living Room project, I'm going to use this. Here I go, recycling a past project that is still a work in progress. Before we had a studio space, before we barely had anything really, we just had created the project, started the nonprofit, gathered a group of people together who were as passionate about this kind of outreach and community connection as I was. We thought, I can see this is going to be an issue again. My water jar and my glass side by side. How about I just put that over there? There we go. Before we started the project, it was a difficult thing to explain to people. There weren't that many art hives around, and people had a hard idea of like visualizing what it was, what it meant. We weren't an art school. We weren't like a drop-in center in the way people thought often of traditional drop-in centers in that sort of social service way. We weren't an art gallery. So there's all these interesting elements that people certainly didn't understand then. And I think people still struggle to understand now to a certain extent. It was the idea of engagement. How could we convey the importance of connection, and that it would be about the community coming together and finding ways to tell stories, to impact one another in ways that were meaningful to them. There's my paintbrush. Isn't it funny how you have favorite paintbrushes? This one is falling apart. It is on its last legs. It doesn't even stick together anymore. I just love it though. I love it so much. All right. I'm going to keep on using it. Yes, so back to my long-winded story. Feel free to chime in, anyone who remembers those days. So we needed a shorthand to visually express what it was that we were trying to do, what we wanted to do, and to show the interest that the community had in it. So it wasn't just some weird art lady here saying, this is what I want to do, I need to do it. We wanted to help people understand that this was a project. My poor brush. I have other brushes. I just love it. I love this. Hi, brush. I love you. Hang in there with me. Finding ways to convey that it was more than just one person. And Kathleen saying, yes, Mr. Brush has served you well and received much love. Indeed. You know what? I will just gently remove that right now. Last piece of paint. Yes, so the Wish Flag project came into being through that. Like having a visual shorthand that would allow the community members we worked with at our events, the people we met every day in the neighborhoods we did pop-ups in, providing a platform for their voices to be recognized when they couldn't be there themselves. So that when we went to ask for funding or we made a presentation to a committee, we could say, we're here, but these people are also here. These community members are also here. And this is why spaces like this are important to them. These are the kind of changes and hopes and dreams they have for their community through art making and community creation. So in short, what a wish flag is basically it's inspired by the Tibetan prayer flag concept of creating physical representations of wishes or hopes or dreams. So instead of prayers, what we're doing is we're concretizing or giving people an opportunity to externalize a desire, something that they want for themselves or hope for themselves or dream of for themselves and for their community. And sometimes their community might be their literal community, a community like a neighborhood. It might also be a family, a chosen family. It can be an organization that they work with or a part of or believe in. Community can mean so many different things. So we just invite people to put that into colors or lines or words or symbols and create a wish flag that can then be strung up alongside all of the other wishes and dreams and hopes that people have for their community, whatever community means to them. And when we would go to events, we would hang them up behind us. Oh, it was fantastic if we were tabling outdoors somewhere and they could just fly in the wind. And that concept that is related to the Tibetan practice of, that beautiful idea that the wind will carry away these dreams and lift them up to where they need to be heard or enable them to be heard. In a more spiritual way, for us, it was just a very practical way of helping these ideas and dreams be seen and heard by human beings in our own community, because so many of us have these hopes and dreams. But we might think we're alone. We don't realize that there are others who have the same passions, that are struggling with the same things. that people that can be a resource to us. And these flags enabled that to be seen in a very practical way. And it was also fantastic because we have this, it's like a relationship that we can show. Every flag represents a different human being. Every flag represents a different family, or someone like that has agency, that has ability, that has resources and skills and that they can share with other people. So I know that was a pretty long-winded description of the Wish Flag project. But yeah, over time, we would, once the studio opened especially, we would choose to do other things, or we didn't do it as often because people were there and they were in the space and they were busy doing what they wanted to do and needed to do. But whenever we had an opportunity, whenever there was an outreach opportunity, the Wish Flags have come out again. And after doing it this morning with Andrea and Jen, I feel like I was just reminded of what a beautiful, simple, elegant project that is, and how each one of us can do it. And you may not want to do it for your community, but perhaps you might want to do it for yourselves, right? And Nicole's saying, can you share a photo of a wish flag later? Absolutely. Like this is an example of a wish flag. Simple as simple can be, right? And you can do them however you like. I do them with, two pieces of fabric with a pocket sewn up at the top and a white piece of fabric. We usually upcycle old sheets or, donated fabric offcuts from quilts oftentimes that the living room receives. And the white becomes like a little canvas on the flag. And of course the other fabrics are, again, fabrics left over from projects, bits and pieces. That's one of the reasons why we love textile donations so much, because they can be turned into so many exciting things. But folks, you probably have lots of fabric at home. You might even have like old clothing or sheets even that you're throwing out or recycling. You can turn them into things like this if they're in good enough condition, and create your own set of wish flags for your own dreams or hopes or wishes for things that you would like to see, dare I say, manifest in your life. Because of course, the first step to something becoming a reality is being able to identify it, being able to name it, being able to recognize that it has importance and value. And I wonder if we don't often give ourselves the opportunity to do that. We think about things, we, let our brains pots marinate on things and stew them around. But sometimes they never make it to the stage of us actually saying or writing down or, again, externalizing, to use a fancy kind of word. Like, this is something I want. This is something I need. This is something I hope for. And we just get carried away in the day-to-day. So taking some time to make some wish flags of your own is a beautiful thing. And then you can hang them up somewhere where you can see them. If you have a beautiful garden, you can hang them up outside. You can hang them up above a doorway or a window. And just watch, or every day have that reminder to yourself about the things that are important to you, the things that you'd like to see more of in your life, the things that you'd like to see become a reality. And Nicole says, I have some that I've been saving for something special. Ooh, lovely. And I also have a bunch of t-shirt paint I can use. There you go, right? And you don't need a whole lot to do it. I've sewn those together on the machine to make them a little more secure, but we've also glued them in the past with just white glue with glue guns. You can get really fun, like add a whole lot of bling to it, embellish it with ribbons or buttons or rhinestones, costume jewelry. Again, your wish flag will look very much like you. It'll be a part of you. It's also just another lovely way, like you were saying, Nicole, to honor the special things you have in your life, like t-shirts. You just made me think of t-shirt wish flags. I think all of us have t-shirts that we don't want to throw out. We either love the texture or the color, or perhaps they're a t-shirt from a special event we went to, but it might get to a point where you just can't wear it anymore. There's so many cool things you can do to upcycle t-shirts, but you could also consider making a wish flag, like a version of a wish flag out of those as well. Perhaps maybe it wouldn't be a wish flag, maybe it would be a memory flag, or like a special moments flag that you could make. And thank you folks for letting me chat away as I've been working on this mood circle. I think, as you can see, a lot of different colors in my day so far. A lot of different colors. Yeah. I think, too, to remind ourselves that, oh, yes, Simone, you're right. Simone's saying tie-dye t-shirt wish flag. Yes, indeed. That would be amazing. And hello, Audrey. Oh, my goodness. Hello, hello, hello. It's so good. Welcome, welcome, welcome from afar. Lots of special people dropping by to say hello today in the live stream. It's so good to see you. Come on, overalls. Stay up. What you doing? Yeah, tie-dye wish flags. What else could you do? I've seen tea towel wish flags that have been embroidered. So if you have a little more patience and want to really invest some time in creation, you can embroider, you can cross stitch, applique. Again, these wish flags can look like anything you want them to look like. They represent your dreams, your hopes, right? They're also a lovely tool. Like, we use them for ourselves, for any groups or organizations. And I was just thinking, because Audrey dropped by, yeah, to say hello. You're working with the animal rescue, your cat rescue. I wonder if you could together create a series of wish flags for your cats, for all those wonderful felines that you take care of and you provide shelter for. They could even be flags, each flag representing a different creature, a different cat in your life that you love. Lots of different ways that flag project can be used. And I've never yet anyone who can't create one. Some people are a little tentative at first. They're like, oh, I'm not an artist. You know, the usual kind of inner critic talk. But once they realize that there's no wrong way to do them, everything opens up. And some people prefer to write words or sayings rather than putting down an image or a vision of what they want. And that's okay too. It's, I think, one of the things that makes them magical sometimes, at least from a community event perspective, is seeing all the different voices, all the different versions of creativity, but also the different ways people express themselves coming through side by side. So you will have a flag that has just about, colors and an explosion of beauty just through color, and it communicates something very personal to them that they can't, or maybe they don't want to put into words, and that's okay. For someone else, it might be they need to be clear and very explicit about what they want and make sure they get the words exactly right so that everyone who reads it will understand. That's okay too. And for folks, there's blends of things, right? Oh, Audrey's saying that sounds like a great idea. Well, if we can be a part of that, Audrey, you just let us know. My French isn't tip-top, but I'm sure we can find a way to help it, to make it work. And of course, we don't need to be involved with it either. Audrey works for a beautiful cat rescue I don't remember where it is exactly in France. If you're still listening and you want to throw it in the chat, please do, or I will try to remember to put it in the show and tell post that we do afterwards. And of course, this time for a lot of folks in animal rescue and animal care, it's been very difficult adopting or saving animals, and people swinging back and forth with, oh, you know what, I could go on about that for a long time. As a lover of animals myself, I just honor all the people who are out there, all the champions who are doing the hard work day in, day out of taking care of those who cannot necessarily or aren't in a place they can take care of themselves. And sometimes that's about humans as well. We all need a little bit of help from time to time. Audrey's charity also has these really cute t-shirts that I do want to buy as well. And Audrey is saying, oh, it's in the southeast of France. Île-sur-la La Sorgue? La Surgue? Maybe I'm saying that correctly. If there's anyone from our Quebec art hives on here and you want to correct my pronunciation, or if Audrey, if you want to do that, please feel free. Hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. Yes, the cutest t-shirts. And I believe the money goes to a very good cause. So many colors here. So yes, needed to do a mood circle today to kick things off. To kind of ground myself. Sort of put out there what I was feeling. Oh, I did. Oh, you know what? I pronounced it perfectly. I think you're being generous, but I thank you all the same. Confidence boost. I've been going through a lot of like my books, old books that I have, and I'm finding a lot of travel books. Old travel books. I don't even know if travel books exist anymore because you can find everything online. But I do have a soft spot for actual books and all the old Lonely Planet books and things like that, and the wonderful resources they have within them. So I've been practicing some phrases. Not quite ready to share them yet, but one day. And one day I hope to, I think we're all feeling this, looking very much forward to days where perhaps we can travel again, where it's safe and we feel confident. And confident not only in our own safety, but that we'll be keeping other people safe as well. So important. All right, how do I feel about that? I like that. I feel like, yeah, it's capturing something. I might come back to it a little bit when it dries and add some other things into it. Oh, lovely. And speaking of supporting amazing local businesses and organizations that are out there, Nicole says, there's a cool variety store near me that sells all sorts of different candy. Oh, Nicole, candy. Yum. Okay, you got me. And it's called Taunton Country. Can I speak? Yes. Taunton Country Variety. And it's really neat. I managed to get green tea, chocolate mint, and key lime Kit Kats. Ho, 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 that sounds delicious. Plus, they have discontinued candy like pretzel and crispy M&Ms. Yeah, okay, so let me just get a close-up of this and see what it looks like there. Interesting. Yeah, okay. I can see it if I look at my other monitor here, the other stream I have up, and yes, I think that's in a good place to set aside for now, and I'll revisit it in a little bit. Okay. And yeah, I've been hearing that this last year or so, there have been lots of new Kit Kats and M&M series introduced. I'm vegan, so I can't, I can't always eat them, unfortunately. But I do love chocolate. Any vegan chocolate, I will eat it. Kit Kat, M&Ms, if you're out there and you're listening, I'd be a huge supporter of a vegan chocolate line. If you wanted to introduce it, I'd be there, first in line. But yeah, I've heard that there's so many really interesting, weird, and wonderful flavors and textures that they're trying. It's a lot of the last year for those who are in a place to. I think food has been something that's helped us get through. Whether we've been baking bread or trying new recipes or just trying to eat healthier and cook more at home, food has definitely played a role in my wellness over the last year. But I do love when you find those little businesses, being able to support them. I think finding a balance between supporting ones that are doing extraordinary things in the world and doing extraordinary things in our own neighborhoods and communities is really important. Oh, and Kathleen Hiscock is saying Fry's chocolate is dairy-free and vegan. Oh my goodness, you've just reminded me how much I love it. They make orange, peppermint, milk, and dark chocolate, I believe. And yeah, Kathleen, there have been some days when I've sat down, you go out and you think, I'll stock up on some of this delicious Fry's chocolate. Fry's, if you're listening, we're not an advertisement. There are other beautiful vegan chocolates out there, but Fry's, if you are listening, I wouldn't mind some samples. Yeah, there are days where I bring home some chocolate that I want to save for the month ahead, and by the end of the weekend, it's all gone. I've had some of those days with those mint and orange fries chocolate bars. They are delicious. Oh my goodness, they're delicious. Yeah, now I want some chocolate. Okay, all right, focus, Mary. Focus. Although one project that came up early, and I'll have to think about this. Here, let's see. That we haven't really followed up on is the community cookbook. Did people remember that? I remember Courtney might have been the person who inspired it way back when. Courtney was wanting to work on one for themselves, and there was talk of us sharing recipes and creating something together. And I don't know where that project is. If you give us an update, Courtney, if you're out there and listening, still give us an update, because I love a good community cookbook. And maybe there's a chocolate cookbook out there that we could create. I don't know. And Kathleen says, same. Good to know I'm not the only one. The 4-packs just disappear. Isn't it funny how they do that? Yeah, someone's got to keep an eye on them. They just disappear. Okay, folks, what should I make these wish flags for? I'm actually thinking maybe these flags should be inspired by the idea of transition. Let's see. Oh, and Kathleen saying your mom has a chocolate cookbook. That sounds good. You know what? We can dig around in all the cookbooks. Everyone out there, dig around. If you have any favorite recipes that you'd like to share in the show and tell post, or even to post right here during the live stream, please feel free. That cooking and baking and, chocolatiering, confectionery, all those things, those are creative endeavors as well. It's another way we express ourselves and teach other people about who we are, and also learn about who other people are in the world through food, through taste and texture, and spending time making those things together when we're lucky enough to do so. So please, if you're out there and you have some recipes you want to share this afternoon, go for it. Put them in the links. Let's shine a light on what we're doing, what we're loving, what we're creating, all of those things. It all counts. All a part of the virtual art hive moment. But yes, so today, I've already shared, busy, full day, exciting visits from community supporters and from champions out there. And it's also a time, of course, where these things are beginning to happen more often. So I'm aware in the back of my mind that we're entering a period of transition, of kind of re-entering into a normal, or something that might look like normal. And my brain is trying to adjust and adapt. And I feel like we all need to take extra self-care during this time to give ourselves space to explore that period, this process of changing or readjusting again. We've worked so hard this whole time. And I think it's important to still, keep mending and tending those parts of ourselves, because the change is still happening. And just on the cooking, sometimes Audrey says, I have success when I don't burn the house down when I cook. So Kathleen is agreeing with you, Audrey. We count the little victories. That's something that's important. And I think it's also a part of that self-care piece. Just, giving ourselves pats on the back for those things that we're doing well, the things creatively that we're managing in the day-to-day, the things that at the end of a long week can help us feel good, can help us look back with a lightness in spite of all the difficult or complicated things we might be dealing with. And Kathleen says, oh my God, I tried to boil water once, but forgot the water. And when I took the pot off the stove, it burnt the counter. I have also been there. And it's one of those cliches, isn't it? Audrey high-fiving you. It is one of those cliches that I can't even boil water. But there are days where my brain does struggle a little bit with that. And well, what's happening there? What's going on there, folks? It's not that we're bad cooks. It's not that we can't boil water. We've done it before. We can do it again. Perhaps it's just our brains are so full. Our brains are so full. And Nicole saying, I killed an instant cake mix once. It was a microwave mug cake once. You killed it, huh? So we have an instant cake mix microwave mug cake killer in the chat today. Some people who've boiled water away burning their countertops. You know, we've all had those moments. We have all had those moments. I know I've walked away from things, pans with oil on them before. I've got distracted by a really great song I was hearing on the radio and forgot that I was making pancakes, and then come back to a smoky kitchen and a completely blackened pancake. I think we've all had it. Hello, Caitlin. How are you? Oh, Caitlin, it's so good to see you here. Caitlin, we're talking about creative cooking mishaps and also trying to make wish flags. So, okay, I'm going to channel this conversation into a wish flag. What is one of the wishes I want to make? I could make a wish for safe kitchen adventures for all of us, but I think it's speaking to something deeper than that. Let's see. A wish perhaps to be present, to be fully present in the moment, to enjoy the present moment. Perhaps that's what's speaking here. And of course, Kathleen says, I may have caused a small explosion. Turns out you can't cover, you can't cover oil, water, and salt on the stove. Who knew? Oh, wow. That might be veering into, that combination of things sounds a little explosive to me. We have to be careful sometimes. Safety first, everyone. Safety first. And Nicole's saying, my friends are really into baking, so they laughed at my burnt mug cake. You know what? It could happen to anyone, Nicole. It can happen to anyone. And safe. Kathleen says safe? Question mark. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, let's see. I want to start with a symbol of presentness. Let's do this. Let's start with this. I have my watercolors here, but I also have my watercolor oil pastels, my watercolor crayons that I'm using. So I'm going to start with those. Well, I'm sure people, if you're out there and you have, like me, if you've had those, or like Kathleen, Audrey, and Nicole, if you've had misadventures in baking or cooking before, there must be folks out there who are fans of, Bake Off and Nailed It or Failed It. I can't remember what the show was called. Watching other people create and in the baking and cooking fashions. And there's something really comforting about watching other people have those mishaps themselves and survive and thrive and still come away loving what they do, ready to create again. I think there's such a correlation between art making and food making as well. Interesting. And Kathleen is saying, oh my goodness, Kathleen, just about the oil salt combination. Yes, lifted the cover and there was a terrifying flash. I didn't cook for a whole year after. I'm so sorry. Here I am laughing, but I suppose I should acknowledge actually that is a terrifying moment when that happens. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're okay. And Momo, hello, Momo. Momo from Montreal. So good to have you here. We are making wish flags and talking about, we got into food and cooking and that creative element of making food and desserts and the mishaps we've had along the way. Creative moments in the kitchen, creative risk taking in the kitchen perhaps. And Nicole saying, I have since managed to make a perfectly good mug cake. Turned out my microwave was more powerful than I thought. There's another PSA from Nicole there. Know your microwave. Get to know how strong your microwave is. And Simone saying, Beat Bobby Flay is the best show I've probably watched. 15 episodes in the last 2 days. So this is a running theme. Perhaps there's something that's in the air. We're all looking. I haven't heard of that show. It must be. It sounds like a bit of a competition show between Bobby Flay and someone else, perhaps, or maybe people trying to create Bobby Flay recipes. I do love a good cooking show where we can, really watch the process and dive in. There's a show I love called. Well, it's a spin-off of the Great British Bake Off, but it's juniors. So it's little kids baking. And during this last year. Hello, Prin. Yes, Prin. Oh, Prin, I'm so glad to see you here. And yes, Prin, I need to chat with you too. I have to get back to you as well. I know. I'm just saying hello, and I'm putting a pin in it, and I'm saying you're in my thoughts, and I will get back to you. But yes. The Great British Bake Off Junior Edition is something that brings me an incredible amount of joy. Just seeing children so fearless and passionate about baking, and they are so much more advanced than I will ever be. It's actually quite inspiring as well. And I saw a way back there in the chat, Kathleen was asking about the medium. So this medium here with the watercolor crayons, if that's what you're asking about, I love them. I have a lot of fun with these. They work like oil pastels. You can use them dry to have the same effect as an oil pastel. But you can also add water and have a watercolor effect. And I love using them on fabric as well. When I don't, feel like pulling out the dyes or doing anything, really messy with fabric. It's another way to get color and to blend and to play with, that tie-dye effect as well. Not exactly the same, obviously. You're creating your own color effect. But there's something, I just love it. And it's a go-to for me. And I'm not exactly sure what to create or why. So creating this wish flag about being present, inspired by the conversations we're having about maybe, is it fair to say, not being entirely present in the kitchen when we're cooking or baking? I'm glad that everyone is still here. And Kathleen saying, that's awesome, microwaves are funky, but it must be validating to know the robot was the problem. And Nicole, that's in response to Nicole, and I think, yeah, sometimes it is good to know that it's not necessarily us. It's like working with any tool that we have in creativity. It's having an understanding of how that tool works and what we need to do to meet it halfway. And Prince saying, no worries at all. Love cooking, making burgers tonight. Love Junior Bake Off. I know, it's the best. It is the best. Folks, if you haven't seen it, I'm not sure where you can. I might have stolen it from somewhere online. Sorry. It's out there somewhere. If you can, dig around on the internet. See if you can find it. I find it really uplifting and joyous and kind of life-affirming. And like I was saying, I think there's such a strong relationship between food making and art making. They overlap in so many excellent ways. When we sit around a table creating a meal together and eating a meal together, for me, there's as much love and joy there as when perhaps we're sitting around a table making art together and sharing those materials and passing things back and forth and being able to comment on what we're experiencing for ourselves. Such a nourishing thing at the end of the day. Just nourishing. Art and food, both nourishing things. And Simone saying yes. So this is about the Bobby Flay, the beet Bobby Flay. Again, any product placement here is accidental, purely accidental, not selling anything or advertising anything, just sharing what we love, sharing those resources with other folks out there in case you want to check some of these things out yourself. I feel like I have to say that every once in a while. And Simone's saying, yes, it's a competition show. In the first round, invited chefs cook against each other using random ingredients of Bobby's choice. Then in the second round, the winner gets to go up against Bobby Flay. That's terrifying. I'd be terrified to do that. Gets to go up against Bobby Flay with their own signature dish. He wins so often, it's actually ridiculous. He can cook anything. Yeah, that's true. And when I think about it, what my signature dish is, what is my signature dish? I think it's like roasted cauliflower. It's not anything too exotic. It's just, signature dishes are an interesting thing. Like, is it something that you love, or is it something that you love making so you can show off to other people? I think a signature dish has got to be about what you love, right? Right? Am I right? Nicole says, I managed to find a bit of a design fail a few months ago. I bought a pencil case shape. So there is a food connection here, in the shape of a pizza slice. However, since it's triangular, you can only fit a few regular-sized pencils in it. Thankfully, I can put my dry erase markers in it since mine are different sizes. Well, sometimes we, style over practicality. Is that it? Style over... I mean, it's got substance, so I guess it's style. It's nothing wrong with that. You can use that for, just trying to think of any pizza-shaped art supplies. Help me out, folks. If you know of any pizza-shaped art supplies that might fit really well inside of that pencil case, put it in the comments. And Prince saying, my boyfriend is a great cook. I'm lucky. Yeah, I have a partner who likes to cook as well. And yeah, that's a beautiful thing when you have people in your life that enjoy that process. And at the end of the day, they might find pleasure in it when you in the same place might be exhausted. It might be a bowl of cereal night. I've had those too. So, this is inspired by the food conversation, but I feel like it relates. This first wish flag is about being present. Especially as we all begin this transition back to, or I can't even say back because I don't know if we're returning to anything. I think we're entering into something new. And again, slightly unprecedented together. But to be present, to still make time for that self-care, to still make time for what we need to feel healthy and happy and grounded. And cooking and eating together is one of those beautiful things that can be so grounding. But sometimes we have to protect that time, I think. I heard that phrase in a chat with some wonderful folks from Trent University and how they were planning building in self-care and wellness for their students in the year ahead and protecting it. So not as an afterthought, not as something to address crises as they come up, but making sure that they anticipate students' needs and building it in so nothing can change it, nothing can alter it. And oh, did you see that? I almost dipped my paintbrush in my coffee. Again. Oh dear. But I really admired how they are doing that and that the staff they're encouraged to do that. So it's protected. And I think maybe that's what we have to do for ourselves, right? And Audrey's saying, even living alone. Oh, so this is food. Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Just again, self-care and nourishing ourselves. Audrey says, even living alone. I know, right? How is it possible? You are a catch, Audrey. You are a catch. I do my best to make the presentation of my plates colorful and beautiful, even if it's just for me. Thanks to that, I learned again to make this process to make me pleasure, and feel like making food to count too. And it's important to take care of ourselves. Sorry if I don't have success expressing yourself well in English, Audrey. That is perfectly understandable, and I think I know exactly what you feel. It's about building in spots of pleasure for ourselves, because pleasure is as much about healthcare and mental health care and self-care as anything else. Saving that time, acknowledging how precious it can be, and how it's one of the first things for so many of us, at least speaking from my own experience, is one of the things that gets sidelined so easily. We cut back on that when life gets tough. We cut back on those pleasure moments, whether it's cooking for ourselves and taking time to indulge and be present in that process, or other forms of pleasure for ourselves, like connecting with friends and, having whatever it might be, going for that walk, making art. If we don't protect that time where we are able to be present with ourselves, for ourselves, to refuel, to prepare for what lies ahead, we risk kind of putting ourselves in an unhealthy place, running ourselves down, right? So that time needs to be protected. So Audrey, high fives right back at you. And Momo saying, interesting conversation, signature dish. Okay, here we go. Momo says, I would say it has to be something you love and also love making. Okay, I'm loving this. That being said, I went to a workshop where we invented a color, and my color turned out to be the color of my favorite Saturday morning breakfast. So my color was spicy Saturday mornings. Oh my goodness. I love that. And what a fantastic workshop. Was that a workshop in Montreal or like an online workshop? That's a brilliant idea. So folks, yeah, what is your signature dish if you had to describe it? And let's say signature dish could be anything. Let's open it up to all things we make and create and consume that nourish us. What would your signature dish be? Let's throw it out there and see. And Audrey says, yes, I spent all my life to make pleasure for others, for other people, forgetting myself, and it's all new for me. Oh my goodness, you are not alone, Audrey. I know that so many of us, and it's one of those things that comes from such a wonderful place, and it is best intentions. We want to help others feel secure and safe, and giving them the things that sometimes we don't give ourselves. And it's sometimes it helps me to remember that if I don't take care of myself, I won't be able to do anything else for the community. But yeah, it's harder to put into practice. One thing to say it, another thing to do it, and to protect that time. To protect your signature dish. Yeah. And it is a process of learning. Perhaps each one of us, and there's a whole lot of other conversations that tie into this, right? Living in consumer-oriented cultures, cultures that societies, civilizations that often value product over process, that often have come to a place where they're okay managing crises rather than preventing them in all the ways, in all the areas of life. And I think for us, as creators, as people who are change makers, who are interested in investing in building relationships for the long term and not just for the short term benefit, it becomes a priority. How do we teach ourselves to make space for that time in ourselves, protect that time for ourselves? And pleasure is not something unimportant, it's essential. It is essential to be functional, to be a functional human being, right? Oh, lovely. And Momo says, that was an online workshop. Oh, excellent. I wrote down the questions. We can all invent a color. This is lovely. I so often during these live streams, I talk about all these workshops I want to do. I've got to go through them all again and write down every workshop that I've ever promised or said we'd try or invite someone to do or host. I think I'm becoming it's one of those running jokes with me that I get so excited about things. And then I get busy and forget to reinvest. Let's see. So let's see, being present. And Momo says, if there's time, maybe I can share it on a Zoom. It's fun to do. Yes, you just answered that would be a huge help, actually. And I love being able to, that's what I need to do. Another thing about taking care of self, being able to delegate and share responsibilities with people in the community who are as passionate and as you are. And Momo, you are one of those people who are so passionate and giving. So yeah, let's talk about that. And if I forget, which I will, send me a little knock, send me a little message to remind me of that, because I would love to have that workshop expanded and to shine a light on the folks who originally hosted it as well. And Simone responding to Audrey, again, this conversation, so important to have. It is so difficult, Audrey, Simone says, especially if you're more sensitive or empathetic. And that is true as... No, I was about to drink my paint water. I think it is true for folks who are more empathetic, who get pleasure from being of service to other people. I think we take a lot in, don't we? And we give a lot in that process as well. And in that exchange, perhaps we give away a little bit too much of ourselves from time to time. I'm constantly having to address that and work on that in myself. You're not alone, folks. You're not alone. And Momo says, it is a pleasure to be here with all of you. Oh, my heart. And Simone again, to Audrey, and to everyone, I think, if I may. And also, if one of your love languages is acts of care, definitely a balance required. So this love languages thing, I've heard about this before, haven't done a deep dive into it. It sounds fascinating to me, but it is that. It is about knowing who we are, whether it's, a part of, like a template or a formula that someone else has shaped to help us understand ourselves, or something we just learn to notice within ourselves and pay attention to take care of, to tend to. Knowing who you are and how you move through the world can be so helpful in creating better boundaries for ourselves. Because I suppose that's another way of looking at it. It's about boundaries, right? Oh, and hypersensitive, Audrey, yeah, that's like, I think many of us are very sensitive. And if you're hypersensitive, then it's even more important to just protect that self-care space for yourself. Protect it, and it's okay to protect it. And I love, again, just watching the conversations unfold, seeing how community, I love you folks, building relationships, reaching out, sharing, asking for support if you need it. As I move on to the next wish flag, perhaps that's one of the themes here. Perhaps it's about taking care of ourselves and protecting that space. And I'm reminded of, again, just on that note of students, and I love working with students, and so many of the students we've worked with in the past have become colleagues and facilitators in the living room process. Maybe a phrase that came up a lot with students this year was self-care is healthcare. So maybe that speaks to all of this. I'm going to create a flag for that. And Nicole saying, since we're talking about dishes, all right, bringing it back to the food, I lived near a place where you could paint your own pottery, and they would put them in a kiln. There was one woman who came in every week and painted one dish every week since she got married. Oh my goodness. Her goal was to make her own set of unique dishes designed by her. That is awesome. Wow, what a privilege to be. I don't know. I know some of the places that are around here are a little bit pricey. If I could, if I had the patience, and I think all of us, if kilns were easy to use, I think all of us might be potters, because there is something very special about working with the earth to create something that is in your life that serves you. And that transformation by fire process, transformation by fire, anything that goes into a kiln, there's something special there in my mind. So protect safe spaces. Self-care is healthcare. Pleasure being important. Pleasure being essential to being healthy. Absolutely. And Momo saying, all about love languages again. My love language, Momo says, is making food for people. I guess I learned it at home. Well, if that's been like a part of, again, very similar to art, what we make, what we create, what is handmade and offered to people, it is so personal, isn't it? And sharing art and sharing food, it can be just as vulnerable, I think. And it's, for some of us, it may have been a very long time since we've been able to share food with people that aren't directly in our bubbles, or, colleagues perhaps even, or at work. And maybe we're missing a bit of that giving, sharing, nurturing others through what we create in food. And maybe that's something that can come back. Because food, there's a lot of love in food. And, on the flip side of that, there's a whole lot of other stuff that can be a part of that too. But being able to create something for someone else that will nourish them or make them happy. And just, I remember Joanne, who's has been in the chat before, out BC, shared a recipe with me for black bean brownies. And I haven't had a chance to make it yet. But just that lovely exchange of recipes, of making, something that I love and maybe you'll love it too. It's the same as a Skillshare. It's the same as an each one teach one in an art hive. Something that I love, maybe you'll love it too. Yeah. So here we go. Self-care is healthcare. And some, oh, let's see, in the pottery. Oh my goodness, Barb, oh, lovely chat happening. And Momo saying on the pottery that Nicole was mentioning, Momo says, yes, I used to go to those places. A little expensive, but so fun to do. I still have some of the plates I created. Oh, the living room was donated to Kiln once. And unfortunately, we couldn't do anything with it because the building we were in couldn't handle the electricity, and it was a great kiln. Luckily, we did find someone that it could go to. We found a good home for it. But one day, that is on my wish list to, if we share a space with maybe another art hive or other creative organizations that are like-minded, maybe one day we can have a kiln and house a potter in residence, because that's a beautiful process. And Barb's saying, catching up on the last few minutes of the live stream. Hi, Barb. Interesting conversations, everyone. In order to find time for myself, yes, please share. I used to have to set an alarm for a specific time every day. It helped a great deal just to teach myself to take time out for me. I love that idea. It's almost, it reminds me of some friends of mine have mindfulness bells on their phone that just ring out throughout the day. And when you hear that bell, I think it is a Buddhist practice in principle, but it doesn't have to be directly attached to it. It's just that simple reminder. We have alarms for so many other things in other parts of our day. We have agendas full of all our meetings and tasks that we have to stay on top of. Why not for our own self-care? It's a way of normalizing it, isn't it, Barb? It's a way of normalizing that essential part of staying healthy, staying functional, staying in a place that's positive for ourselves. And Nicole saying, lovely, I have a tile I painted freehand with Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. Oh my goodness, along with the champagne bottles. That sounds so, so delightful. I know there are a lot of Disney fans out there. Last week we were talking about Studio Ghibli, and this week there's been a lot of Disney references in my realm from folks who love how Disney has brought characters and stories to life. And recently, of course, I've been more impressed with the awareness that they've been bringing to some of their projects, and I hope it continues. So, but lovely. What a lovely keepsake to have for yourself, Nicole. Let's see. And Simone, so catching up on the love languages. I'm no expert on love languages, says Simone, but a quick Google search tells me that the term originating from Dr. Gary Chapman, there are 5 main ones: affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. Interesting. What an interesting way of breaking down those concepts of how we show affection or what we need to know we are loved. Sometimes being able to have a shorthand like that it can be really, really helpful. As long as, of course, it's, not limiting and it doesn't, I know there must be growth in all areas. There's no, one thing and this is the only thing. And I think as long as we keep that in the back of our minds, resources like that can be really helpful in helping us understand ourselves. And Momo yes, excellent. I think we could easily create a living room community cookbook with all our signature dishes and love letters we know / have. Ho, 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 ho. Here we go. Again, I need to make a list of all these projects. I love how the community comes together, but the community cookbook has been there. It's not the first time we've talked about it. And I think, why not? Something that everyone could use, even if it's a thread on Facebook, right? And Audrey says, yes, Ghibli fan, another Ghibli fan out there. Lovely. And Joe, hello, Joe. Joe says, hello, Mary, and all of us other living room family members. Aw. So good to know you're out there. Sorry, I've got an ice cube in my mouth. There we go. And hello to you too, Joe. see. What else needs to go on here? And Simone saying, yes, I'm sure there are many more. Knowing which ones I gravitate towards helps me understand myself better. I'm sure I've invented a couple of my own too. Simone, I hear you. I love using things as a reference point and then building off of them with my own lived experience, my own wisdom. I feel I do the same with soul collage. If anyone out there is familiar, I've done some collage, and maybe that's what I'll do next week. Revisit soul collage a little bit. It's been a while since I've done collage. But whenever anything feels too rigid for me, like it's homework or that someone might get upset if I'm doing it wrong, I have a bit of a reaction to that. Again, just the way I am. Me and systems. So I love knowing that I can improvise a little bit within the structure, or that I can take some left turns or right turns when I need to help, make meaning of things in a way that will be of more benefit to me and where I'm at right now in my life. Because all of these processes are so helpful, and I think they're insights. It's a little bit like following a recipe, isn't it? The first time I try and cook anything, I try to follow the recipe in its own specific way. And then, you taste it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to add a little bit of this, not as much that. And it is like that, isn't it? All of these things, resources, guides, things that help point us towards something that we can, really, really incorporate into our lives in a practical, useful way. And Joe saying, thought that looked like the paint water with the brown umber. Oh, these two things that I have here? Yeah, no, I'm not going to drink the paint water this week. And I'm not going to wash my paintbrush in my coffee, my iced coffee. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it, folks. Not going to do it. Oh, Carlos. Carlos says, I'm a bit late, but sending howdy to you lovely folks. I hope you're staying well and hydrated. And Carlos says, oh, loving this piece, Mary. Awesome message to promote. Yeah, we're talking about protecting self-care time for ourselves, protecting nourishing time for ourselves, and building it in, not just, finding ourselves in a place where we reach to it or reach for it in crisis. And just how important it is. Not always easy, but important if we can start practicing it that now. And I think I need to practice it just as much, just because I'm talking about it here doesn't mean it's easy for me to do myself. And of course, it's easy to protect those times when things are easygoing and there's no stress, or there's less stress, or we're feeling solid. But it's a little more difficult when things get busy, when we find ourselves... Interesting color choices I'm using here. So when we get busy, it's a little harder it's harder to remember. It's harder. It's the first thing that goes, right? Including connecting with friends and having, times like that. Oh, and Audrey says, so sorry, I have to go to sleep. That's right, it's so late there. Had such a great time and chats with you, Mary, and each of you. Hey, community lovely. Nice to meet you. Thank you, and have a good day/evening. Take care, Mary. You're always such, lovely. Audrey, I feel the same way about you. Thank you for being out there in the world. And yes, thank you for tuning in so late from where you are in France. Have a lovely and restful sleep, and delicious, sweet dreams. And we'll see you again soon. And of course, it is 3:21, so if folks need to go and do what they need to do, that's okay as well. I'm going to be here for the next 10 minutes or so, working on these wish flags, adding them into the mix, the ones that were created by Andrea Horvath today and Jennifer French. It's so great to be reminded of things that I used to do all the time with community, and I haven't done in a long time. And today I've had an opportunity to revisit them with you. I love it so much. So shout out to Andrea and Jen for reminding me of this activity. And Nicole says, I was recently helping someone find a I'm going to have a hard time saying that word today. Multiplication game for their child. I did it. It used a hopscotch model as a template, and it was nice seeing the melding of math and art together. I was one of those kids, I think, who benefited from melding things in that way. I needed to kind of like sneaking in healthy food, like blending the broccoli into a meal to get it healthy. I think I benefited from having things that weren't initially as fun for me blended into other activities. So if math involved art or color or shapes or things that my brain could make sense of, it was always easy. It was easier for me to do. Not easy necessarily, but easier for me to grasp and practice. I like that too, is what I'm saying, Nicole. And it will be interesting to see, like, I wonder, teachers have had such an intense time over this past year or so. It will be really interesting to see how they return to classrooms, how students adapt. It'll be really interesting to see what was effective in educating people online, because not everyone learns in the same way, right? But I imagine that a lot of success stories involved blending things together so that students at all levels who learn in all the ways could benefit as much as possible. And Momo is saying to Audrey, if you're still here, Audrey, sweet dreams. Nice to meet you. See you again soon. And Audrey is lovely. Audrey's been a supporter of the living room right from the very beginning as well. Someone from afar. And actually, one of our very first wish flags was a message that Audrey shared with us to make for her on her behalf. Oh, yes, that's right. About health and wellness. Oh, darn it. I wish I'd remembered that when Audrey was on the live stream. But you know what? I'll send a message later on and maybe dig up that flag to share with folks another time. It might be in storage right now. We have so many wish flags. I want to say over 1,000 at this moment in time. 1,000 wish flags representing 1,000 different dreams and hopes and wishes from community members. And maybe, one day when we're out in the community with the Mobile Art Studio, we'll try to have an exhibit of them all together, to see them in the sun, in the wind, all shining and flying together. That might be a beautiful thing to behold. And Joe says, just about, I think in reference to me drinking paint water, would you actually admit it to us if you did? And Joe, oh yes, I would. In fact, I did it on camera for everyone a few weeks ago. I'd been making art for over 1.5 years without washing my paintbrush off in my coffee, and I finally did it, and I had to taste it. Of course I had to taste it, an art experiment. Don't do as I do. Safety first. Have to say that, but I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm good enough. And Audrey signing off saying merci. Oh, lovely. I will practice my French as well. Oh, lovely. Communities connecting from across oceans. And I know there are other folks who are out there watching or listening, and it's late for you too, wherever you are. Let me take this moment to wish you lovely sweet dreams as well, if you'll allow me. Or lovely evenings, lovely weekends as you head into it. As I was mentioning at the beginning, we're heading into a long weekend here in Canada, and the living room's going to be taking some time off, so we won't be having our normal Thursday writers workshop or Monday as well. We're going to kind of just take a social media break, even though today is social media day. We're going to just take a break and step back for a few days. Take a breath and do some self-care for ourselves, just like we invite and encourage everyone in our community to do. Oh, Simone says colorful Sudoku. So just on that blending that Nicole was talking about of math and education. Yeah. Being able to visualize the processes for me has always been helpful. And that's not only in math, it's in everything. I think like even designing the Mobile Art Studio, I needed to map it out, and I couldn't quite map it out until we had the vehicle that I could actually be in and experience. I know there must be other folks out there who can relate to that. I'd like to have a sense of something before I commit to, I need to understand it somehow. And I don't always understand things on paper, like board game rules. I can read the board game rules 100 times over, but until I play it out and actually move the pieces around, it doesn't matter. I won't understand it. Oh, lovely. Joe says, I'm curious how the students will adapt to the new changes. Me too. I hope I hope everyone's doing okay. And it's one of those things where I feel like we all just had to jump in. And I feel people are resilient and resourceful, and students are the same. And like all the difficult things any of us have been through in life, we'll find a way to adapt and move forward and hopefully be there for one another to fill in the gaps and provide support when we see it's necessary, right? I mean, that's what we should be doing for one another all of the times. So maybe we'll just be a little more aware of it as we move forward. That's a hope. And Wendy saying, I made my grandson a parking lot for his cars this week. I labeled the spots from A to Z so he can practice letter recognition this week. Oh, that's fantastic. Wendy, that's so great. I love that. And again, for me, that would be a perfect thing. It would help me just blend and learn without even realizing. It's like learning sing like lyrics to a song. When I'm acting, sometimes people ask, how do you remember? How do you memorize all those lines, what have you? And it's the same as learning a song, but people don't often think of that. You might hear something, you might say something out loud. You start connecting emotions to the words and intent to the language, which I think is similar to what we're talking about here. And it's more than just words on a page. It's something larger, something more meaningful, something enjoyable. And before you know it, you're singing along with the song, even though you never sat yourself down to say, I'm going to learn how to sing this song. It kind of happens the more we work with it. And Joe asking if the coffee with the paint water in it tasted good. And you know what? I mean, it didn't taste bad. I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend it for any menus. Like, I don't expect Brew Wizards to start making a special paint water coffee latte for me. Although they could I'd still try it if they did. And this one, folks, I'm just going to end on the biggest wish I have. A heart. And this heart, of course, can represent many things. And yeah, Joe's saying to Wendy, that sounds very, very, very inventive, very cool. And Barb saying, oh, hoping everyone has a lovely holiday. A wish flag for all of you. Take care, all. Thank you. As always, dear Mary, oh, lovely. Enjoy your self-care break. And you know what? I will. And Carlos saying, sorry it's been a fleeting visit, but lovely to connect with y'all, even if it was a brief visit today. Thanks as always, Mary. And I hope you all have a safe and awesome day. Catch you later. Oh, catch you later too, Carlos. I hope you're taking care of yourself and that you have a lovely, restful, long weekend too. And as I make this wish flag for everyone here, it is the symbol of the heart, of course. But I want it to be more than just the idea of love in the way we often think of hearts and flowers and things like that. I want it to be about that radical act of loving ourselves and cherishing ourselves, being kind to ourselves, the way we would be kind to others that we care for and love in our lives. Not always easy, and we don't always do it perfectly, but that's okay. We can love ourselves imperfectly too. And that can become something extraordinary all on its own. It can grow from there and evolve like a recipe. Start in one place with that recipe. See where it takes you. Make it work for yourself. Using the resources that you have at hand on any given day. because what works today may not work tomorrow. And then one day you might have certain ingredients for your recipe that you don't have on hand the next day, so we improvise. And that's okay. Joe says, thank you, Mary. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend and everyone enjoys their extra long weekend. Stay safe all, and God bless you all. Oh, well, you know what? I will take that blessing. Thank you, Joe. That's quite a lovely thing. And Simone saying, thank you, Mary and the Living Room community. I will post a pic of the manta rays I added spots to today. Fantastic. Oh, my goodness. I love it. And Simone, please feel free to post your Instagram along with that so that folks can follow or learn more about what you're doing. Maybe pick up some pieces for themselves. And I'm just going to finish this off. And as always, I'll probably tend to it and turn to it a little bit later to add a few more details here or there. But my wish for everyone is that you have that time for yourself to appreciate and enjoy who you are, wherever you might be. And that as we practice that moving forward, it'll get easier to do. It's worth making the time. And you know what? I'm going to remind myself of that as well, every single day. There we go. Lots of lovely wish flags. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for making art and having these wonderful conversations and holding space with me for the community. It's a special time we get to share every Wednesday, and I'm so glad it's here. But do please take care of yourself this long weekend. Take some time for yourself. Give yourself what you need and what you want to have some fun and enjoy your special, precious life. And Momo saying, oh, goodbye, everyone. Thank you all for the lovely conversation and art making. Until next time, and you know what? I'll follow up on that. Until next time, stay safe, take care, keep that creative energy flowing if it feels good. Do what you need to do. Yeah, to take care of yourself. Love you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I'll see you next Tuesday, but back here on Facebook for another live stream next Wednesday. Same place, same time. Take care, everyone. Until we can connect and create with one another in person, I look forward to connecting and creating with you right here online. Bye, everyone. Oh, yeah, bye, Kathleen.